Thank you for listening to PoliticalStorm.com. I'm John Small. Over the weekend, we took a little bit of a trip, so I didn't have updates over the weekend, but I'm back on track with my podcast today until the election gets here. So I'm hoping to stay on track all the way up until Election Day, but I've got some things to catch up on here. First of all, Donald Trump has yet to release his tax returns, unless that happened this morning, but I don't think it has. Hillary Clinton so far has released 38 years of tax returns. When the Trump campaign is asked about the taxes, they, of course, say he's going through an audit right now and says, we'll get to it when we get to it. One side of this argument is saying that, hey, what does he have to hide in there? The other side of the argument is saying, what does it matter anyway? Who cares what his taxes look like? Where do you land on this spectrum? I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think, every other president has done it, even though you don't have to. It's not part of the requirement to become president. But since everybody else has done it, I think you almost need to just to say, hey, there, I got nothing to hide. But there's another part of me that says, why should it matter? Is there something specific in there that we're looking for? In Hillary's taxes, one of the things they found is she really likes giving to charities, especially her own. The majority of the contributions to charity were to the Clinton Foundation. One of the news channels over the weekend kept referring to that and said that it was pretty much money laundering, which I don't know if that's quite the way it works, but I suppose. Everybody has their opinion, right? Now, here's what I think Donald Trump is up to. I don't think he has anything to hide in there, but I think what he's doing is saying, you know what, let's keep the media busy talking about that, so eventually he can just trump them and say, here's my taxes, now what are you going to talk about? But the good news is, while they're talking about his taxes, at least they're not talking about everything else. Did you know this happened? I didn't even know this happened. Donald Trump has been hit with a lawsuit from a former campaign staffer who alleged that the Trump campaign did not act when this campaign's former North Carolina state director pulled a gun on him. What? How's that not in the news? If it is, I haven't seen it. Some guy in charge of North Carolina's campaign pulled a gun on one of the staffers. I mean, this election is getting so far-fetched that nobody would believe it if it were from a movie. Now let's take a look at a survey that we missed over the weekend. A new survey finds that the majority of Americans feel the nation's way of life is under some degree of threat. According to the Monmouth University poll, Islamic terrorists concerned 61% of the people in the survey, while the prospect of Donald Trump as president worried 54%. A potential Hillary Clinton presidency concerned about 42% of registered voters. So it's interesting how many people are concerned. It's that they both want to vote against the other one. So they're saying, well, I don't want Trump, I guess I'll deal with Hillary. Well, I don't want Hillary, I guess I'll deal with Trump. And I don't think that there's anybody that's super duper excited, according to these polls, about either of them. But there is a poll that was very interesting to me. Over the weekend, I actually took this while we were on our little vacation. I went on and clicked on the poll because I saw it come up in my Facebook feed. It was the ABC News poll. So it's not from some ultra-conservative site. It's not from some far-leaning to the right site. We're talking ABC News. I mean, these guys are a real news organization. They do like nightly news and morning news and Good Morning America and all the stuff that's on ABC. And a lot of the stuff they do is pretty slanted to the left, quite honestly. But they have a survey on their website. I'm looking at it right now. I took this survey, and it was absolutely amazing to me. Right now I'm looking on here, 124,000 votes is what they've had on this. It says, who are you voting for? You could go through and fill out the different thing. 70%, not 17, 70%, 86,968 of the votes go to Donald Trump. Guess who is in second place? She's pulling 12% of the survey. Her name is, no, it's not Hillary, it's Jill Stein. Yeah, Jill Stein. Gary Johnson at 11%, Hillary Clinton at 7%. This is the live poll. You can go on and vote right now if you'd like to. I'll put a link to it in the podcast just so you can find it really easy. It's on the ABC News website, so we're not talking about some ultra right-wing website. We're talking about ABC News. 70%? So all of these other polls are showing Hillary is doing amazing, and Donald Trump better watch what he's saying because it's really hurting him in the vote. Maybe they all need to start doing stuff like this. Maybe they all need to have their staffers pull guns on people. I have no clue. All I know is whatever he's doing, it seems to be working. Like he said early on, he said he could pull a gun and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, and he'd probably go up in the polls. I'm starting to think that there's something to it. Now, getting back to something a little more serious, I'm excited to be doing an interview later this week, and we'll be sharing it here on this podcast with a man by the name of Mark Bragg. Now, some of you might know that name. He used to work on the Ronald Reagan campaign. He also is in charge of IndependentVoters.com. That's a site that he runs. And more importantly, he's got a book, Economic Conservative Social Liberal. Now, the first time that I did the interview with him, I had not read the book. I read the book. It's one of my favorite books ever. So I reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in chatting again? And they've got a new chapter that they added about this election. So there's a special edition of the book that just came out. And we're going to be chatting with Mark later in the week. Thank you so much for listening to PoliticalStorm.com. I'm John Small. Have a great Monday.